Excited to be here today with Ben Chung, co-owner of the Kinjaz, a legendary dance group, also formerly of the Jabbawockeez, a pioneer in the dance community. Ben and I have been friends for a long time. Before Sene pivoted into what it is now, he had actually kindly done a feature with us. Super excited to be doing round two and doing it properly today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
I think before we get into it, how did you know you wanted to do dance? Like when you were growing up, was it something that you were interested in from a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I got into it, I would say 8th grade. It's like middle school, right around middle school, high school was when I thought that I could maybe do it myself. I was always into dance. I was a big fan of, music videos, Michael Jackson, MC Hammer, even Vanilla Ice, which is hilarious. But I would watch these music videos and I would always just love dance, but I never tried it until around middle school, high school. And believe it or not, I started watching K-pop videos and then just started to learn the choreography from K-pop videos. And then a couple of friends of mine in high school, we just started teaching each other these routines. And then, there's no better place to showcase your talent other than your youth group talent show, summer camp and things like that. So we started performing at our church talent shows. We found out that there were these like Korean festivals where there are like competitions where they would showcase dance, and there was like these prizes. We're like, hey, let's see if we can do it. And then we won like the 3rd place trophy the first time we ever competed, and then we just kept doing it, and then we just like started winning like 1st place. We're like, yo, like this is kind of cool. So it kind of just started there, and then I didn't know that it would become a profession, but like I just kind of continued down that path and then pursued the professional route, and it worked out for me.
How did you end up with the Jabbawockeez? I mean, the Jabbawockeez growing up, they're the hottest dance group in the entire planet. What did that journey look like?
Yeah, so the Jabbawockeez, they started in 2003, and I was at the very first show that they performed at. So this was their first show, so no one had ever heard of them. So I was just in the audience, just observing, and I was like, these guys are gonna change the face of dance. Like I just knew that they were gonna change the world of dance. And so I just kind of like through the dance community, befriended a lot of the guys in the crew, and then we just started hanging out, and then they would invite me over to come and like session with them, and eventually, just because we're just hanging out as friends, they're like, you should just join the crew. So they battled me into the crew in 2007, and then 2008 was when the MTV show America's Best Dance Crew happened, and then we entered that show, we won, and then everything changed from there.
What does it mean to get battled into?
To get battled in, it's kind of like a rite of passage. It's kind of getting hazed into a fraternity. It's actually it's inspired from gang culture. When, you would get brought into a gang, you would get jumped into the gang. So it's the non-violent version of that, where you just literally go rounds against your crewmates. And it's, we straight out of a cheesy hip hop movie. We were like in my boy Fee's garage at like 3 a.m. He like had the trunk of his car open with the subwoofer playing the music that we're battling. And I just went, around against each of the guys, and then that's how you formally get into the crew.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you were part of the Jabbawockeez at sort of the height of everything too. How did you manage your sense of identity? What was that like in the hottest dance group in this crazy moment in dance history too?
Yeah, it was weird as you're going through it, you don't know what's happening. When we did the TV show, it wasn't like we were aware that this was the TV show that was going to change our lives, because it was the first season. So it was unprecedented. So we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this thing. And then when we won, it was like this big cultural moment where not only was it a moment for like hip hop culture and dance crews, but it was also the fact that most of us were Asian. And so, we were getting a lot of love from the Asian community, and people were saying like, man, you guys are like really putting it on for Asian Americans, or not just Asian, but just Asians in general, because representation in media, even at that time, there was not a lot of like sort of cool representation of Asian faces, a lot of like roles and things like that were like, like Asians were never really put into like that sort of like, power, masculine, sort of role. And then it was like, oh, shoot, these guys are doing something that's cool. So that, along with just like what we were doing for the culture of hip hop, it was like really, again, like I said, I didn't know what was happening. as it was happening, and I kind of just see it more in hindsight now. So like, yeah, it's tough. Like you can never really be ready to sort of get like, I don't want to say overnight celebrity, but like it kind of felt like that. It kind of went from like, yo, we were just kind of like this local dance crew from our local dance community, and now we're kind of like this pop cultural sensation, which is weird. You know what I mean? We're like, what is happening right now? So definitely got a little bit of caught up in my own ego, and you know what I mean, like we were young at the time too, so like it was a lot to take in. Yeah.
What ended up leading you to the Kinjaz?
So I left the Jabbawockeez. I left Las Vegas. We had a show. They still have a show. I left in 2014, and there was a lot going on in my life at the time where it was like I was going through a whole like spiritual identity crisis, and I just was like, I don't even think I should be dancing anymore. I'm just gonna go back to LA and sort of figure it out, like go back to the drawing board with life. And it sounds all super like existential, but that's how I felt. And I thought dance was over, and I was like, I gotta just, at that time I was finding my walk with God to be sort of revived. I mean, I got saved when I was in high school, but like it was kind of like this sort of rededication back to God. And then with that, like I thought, okay, I gotta go be a missionary now or something. Like I gotta just go into ministry. I felt like God was showing me that dance and the entertainment industry is my ministry, and that is a place where he wanted me to continue to grow in. And so Mike Song and Anthony Lee, they're the founders of Kinjaz. They founded it in 2010. And at the time when I came back to LA in 2014 was when they decided that they wanted to turn Kinjaz into a business. It was called serendipity or God's will, but like I just had come back at that time when they were like, hey, we want to go turn this thing into a business. So them being friends of mine for many years before that, they were like, hey, if you're back, like we'd love for you to like join us and help us build this thing into a business. And for me, I wasn't looking for some new crew to join. It was not like this, like, oh, here's my second opportunity. I was just like, well, what's the whole purpose behind this? And, they told me that like, brotherhood at all costs was one of their tenets. So like, I was like, that is the magic sauce here, is that brotherhood. It's not the talent, like, yeah, you guys have the talent, but like talent's a dime a dozen. Like you have to have something deeper at the core. And I'm like, this brotherhood at all costs thing, like that's really the magic sauce. And if and when we ever lose that, all of this is over, And they were kind of looking at me like, whoa, this looks like he's talking from a place of experience. And I'm just saying, So, but yeah, that's how I joined the Kinjaz in 2014. We established the business in 2015 because we went back on ABDC because ABDC came back for season 8. So it just all kind of happened in like perfect timing. But yeah, that's how the Kinjaz story happened.
I can really identify with the brotherhood at all costs thing. For Mark and I, we've always talked about how like our relationship as cousins, like a lot of people still don't know that Mark and I are cousins.
Yeah.
So we don't look like each other at all. But we, growing up, we lived in the same apartment as like our families lived together because we couldn't afford anything. And then when we started together, I was always really afraid that business might ruin our relationship, just because you hear about that.
Right.
But it's made us a lot closer. I think also because, we're both Christians, and I think our faith centers us as well. But I think one of the things I've really appreciated is family can either be amazing or it could be bad. But we're really grateful we're in a situation where it's really good.
That's awesome.
So I feel that.
Yeah, I say, it is difficult though. Like, it does challenge the nature of the relationship because it's hard to separate what goes on at work and what goes on, when you're just hanging out, know, and like I think it can go both ways. It can tear relationships apart or it can draw them even closer because when you can go through the trenches. The real test of a relationship is like, how do you come out of the trenches? Like, do you come out separate and like you go your way, I'll go my way? Or do we like, dude, we're down for each other even way more? So,
Yeah, I totally feel you. Like, I think our experience of original version of Sene almost going through the fire of that together and then fire of COVID and all those things, all these different moments where it could have gone one way, we chose to, have it sharpen us. And, so back on the topic of Kinjaz, Jabbawockeez, it's the successes are the things that everyone sees from the outside, but what are some of the harder, darker moments? How has that shaped you, and what have you learned that you carry with you today?
Yeah, I always say you don't learn anything from the successes. You learn from I don't even want to call them failures, you learn from the setbacks, because that's what they are. Like, that when something doesn't work out, I mean, it's all about your framework of how do you define something, how do you look at it? Because to me, failure means there's a dead end. It failed, it's dead. But a setback is like, okay, that didn't quite work out the way that we had hoped. Okay, so how do we either pivot from there, or how do we rethink this thing and to, pick up from where we left off, kind of thing. And I think that's what I've learned a lot of. Speaking of COVID, like our whole entire business model shifted because of COVID. And we had brick and mortar dance studios that we had to shut down. So we shut down we had 2 studios here in LA. We had multiple studios in China. All of them shut down. And a big part of our business model, I mean, from live performance to live teaching, all had to change. So we're like, everything's going digital now. So we're like, well, if we can't do it in person, how do we take it online? And the great thing about even taking it online is that you're not limited to the 4 walls of a building. It's now accessible by the whole world. You know what I mean? You just log on and then get a membership. So just even shifting from our brick and mortar dance studio model to taking it to an online dance studio, we still do that to this day. And a lot of like the performance aspect of it. Thankfully, we weren't performing physically as we normally did, but thankfully we got a lot of opportunities to do video content, so video performances and things like that. So I think that's just something that we definitely learned, is that if you look at the world shutting down as like, oh, let's throw in the towel, guys, it's over. It's like, what are you gonna do, crawl in a cave and die? Like, you gotta figure it out, So I definitely think that the hard moments, the setbacks are the places where you're truly challenged to see, like, do you actually have something here? Because if you truly have something, you'll figure out a way to reiterate and modify to take it from here to here. You know what I mean? And it's just like those slight changes. Those are the lessons. That's how you learn.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. When you've been in business a long time, you learn what kind of business person you want to be and also what kind of business person you don't want to be. How has your experience shaped the way you want to operate in business?
I love this question because, I used to think business is all about hard numbers and data and results, where that was like the key focus was that. But I realized that good business, at least in my opinion, and the way that I like to do business, is relationships first. It's building people first, building rapport, not for the sake of like, I'm trying to get a transaction out of this. Because I've learned that you can meet somebody and do something off top and it can work, and that's fine. But I've learned that, especially in the entertainment business and me being in the dance industry, I've been able to work cross-pollinate with different industries, between us and an ice cream shop to us and a streetwear brand, us and a tech company. There are seemingly that doesn't. Why would dance and food make sense? But it's well, I have friends who are in these industries, and because we just like being around each other, we're like, hey, should we try to do something? Yeah, dude, we're opening up our new ice cream shop. Do you guys want to come and just do a dance performance? Maybe we'll even make a custom Kinjaz ice cream flavor. And it sounds so random, but we live in a time now where the collab is king. If you can find the right collaboration and you could be disruptive in a way where it gets people's attention, and that's where you find a lot of times it's in that. The magic is in that. And so for me, it's that those all have come from my friendships and people, again, going back to rapport, when people trust you because there's a track record here, then that's where it's man, this is just a cool relationship. And so, the way that I view a good business person is somebody who's highly relational, highly empathetic, able to, empower people to run in their own lanes, to not micromanage and oh, this is mine, so everything has to happen the way that I want to do it. But let people shine, and you'll only know how to let people shine when you know them and they know you. You know what I mean? So I think, quality relationships, I think are what I value in business.
I love that, man. I've also had the ice cream.
Yeah, sick. Shout out After's Ice Cream.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
I remember that collab very well.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
One thing I wanted to ask about was, you and I personally talked a little bit about your next chapter and how it's been a journey of self-discovery, even as you think about the future, what's ahead. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been dancing professionally for over 20 years now. And dance, just like sports, there's a shelf life to the physical aspect of it, right? At some point you got to hang up the shoes and retire. And not to say that I'm retiring, but going back to sort of that entrepreneurial spirit is taking what you have and seeing where can this now shift to. And there's nothing wrong with like complete career changes, but I personally don't like doing life like that. I'm just like, well, I got a lot of stuff here. Like, what can I do with this stuff, And, through things like podcasting, which I love to do, and going back to my why for podcasting is that I love building relationships. And like, what better way to get to know someone than to sit down with them for an hour and talk about some real things, And so with that, I'm like, wow, like I have a pretty vast network. I've had a lot of experience in the dance entertainment industry. I still have the ability to dance, and so I'm still very much in the community, in the scene. I realize that what I've been teaching myself without even realizing is like this ability to go into business development, mentorship, things like that. So I think that the next chapter of my life is that. It's mentorship and coaching, business development. And yeah, I'm very excited I'm gonna be launching a coaching program very soon that I'm building out. And I think it's, as we get older, man, there's seasons, and there's like, okay, now you're in the season of passing down, sort of passing the torch, helping those who are trying to come up to where you've been, giving them the shortcuts because you've already done the work. So it's like, give them the hacks now, and there's absolute value in that, right? Like you're literally shortening the gap of time for someone that, you could take 10 years to do it yourself, or you can partner with me and I can help you get there quicker, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I feel that my next chapter is.
I love it. So let's switch gears and talk about fashion. How would you describe your personal style and how has that evolved?
I'm gonna give my personal style, if I were to say that it's what it's inspired by, it's from skateboard culture. And the reason I say that is because skateboard culture, I will say, is one of the earliest, I would say it might be like the godfather of the streetwear style, meaning that it is a fusion of things. And so what I mean by that is like when I skate back in middle school, like, I'm a kid who doesn't have a job, so I'm like, I can't go buy anything. So like I would literally like raid my dad's closet, and like, he would have these like big, because he's bigger than me, so he'd have like these big khaki pants, and then I'm like, well, they're too long, so I'm gonna cut the bottom of it. So they would just be all frayed at the bottom. And then
How'd your dad feel about that?
Oh, he was mad. My dad was not happy about that. But then like, and then I would get like a polo t-shirt, and then like, put like a baseball cap on. So it's kind of like, polo shirt is kind of like, that's like a very preppy look. Even khaki pants, kind of a preppy look, but it's like baggy and it's cut up. And then I'll throw on some sneakers, and like, so a lot of skate culture was a lot of fusion of like preppy looks to sporty looks, but it's all mashing it into one. And later, a lot of skateboard companies and apparel brands became streetwear brands, like Diamond Supply Co. That's like a skate brand. Supreme was a skate brand, and so I loved that fusion of things, and I still feel like I rock like that. Like people always tell me, "Oh man, you have like really unique style." I'm like, "Well, comes from skateboarding, dude."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like ask any skater. They just start mashing things together. And so even when it comes to like formal looks, I might do something with like throw some sneakers on if I'm wearing a suit, or I might even like wear something that's kind of like like cocktail attire with like a base, like a snapback on or something, or a trucker hat. I mean, I don't do it to force it. I do what I feel like feels good for me. And I think that's what it is too. I think the difference between fashion and style is a representation of the person. Fashion is just clothes, you know what I mean? Like you could give me the most fashionable thing and I'd be like, no, I don't like it. Give me a white t-shirt, just 'cause I want to feel good in whatever I wear.
Yeah.
So like, it's not about the clothing, it's about the person who's wearing it. But like, you got to just know like, what represents you, and it's an expression of the person, right? It's like a kind of you're trying to express yourself. So like, I would say for me, going back to like the whole skateboarding mentality is like, well, what do I feel like is gonna make me feel good? And like, I'm not gonna let like well, here's what GQ says is what's in this season. I'm like, that's cool, but has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. One question we're always interested in, obviously, because we care about fit. Are there any typical fit challenges you have when you're shopping? For me, it's always that sleeves are too long. And then I have shorter legs, but I have like thick legs and a big butt. So those are my challenges. For you, is it easy to get stuff off the rack, or are there any issues you run into?
Yeah, I think I might have the shorter leg thing too, because a lot of times the pants are too long, so I always have to get them tailored. Yeah, sometimes I'll have some trouble with like sleeve stuff that'll be long, so we might have the same.
Similar builds.
Similar build, yeah, for sure.
Stepping away from fashion, what is your normal morning routine?
Ooh, my morning routine. I always keep a jug of water right next to my bed. So as soon as I wake up, I just drink as much of it as I can just to hydrate. Water is so important. I get up and I talk to God, man. Sometimes it depends on like, how early I'm getting up. Sometimes I just get up and I'm just sitting or like just sit up. I'm like, God, thank you. And I'm still waking up. But I try to give my first moments of who I talk to and who I let in, information I let in, let it be God. It's all that, and I read the Bible. It's hard, man. I try not to look at my phone, but it's just knee jerk. But I'll look at my phone to be like, is there something urgent that I need to get to? If not, then I'll put it aside. So yeah, I just kind of like to center myself. And then if my day permits, I try to get movement in right away. So I'll go for either a run or to the gym or both. And then I kind of intermittent fast. I don't really eat until like 1 o'clock.
Wow.
I keep my window of eating, try to between like 1 and 9. It's not always perfect. Yeah, that's kind of like the way that I start my day. There's this book called Own Your Day, and a lot of it talks about starting from your morning, right? Like the way that you set yourself up in your morning can kind of, like sort of paint the trajectory of like the rest of your day. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like.
It's funny for me because I used to wake up at 6 a.m. and do my like whole reading, praying process. And then nowadays, do you know we're fostering we're fostering a 7-month-old.
Wow.
So she was 1 month old when we got her, but now she's 7 months old. And so I wake up at 7 a.m. and I immediately have to go feed her. My morning routines are so screwed up now.
Yeah. I'm sure having children, definitely makes that, you'd have to adjust that. I don't have kids yet, so I can kind of.
Well, it was bad in the beginning. I mean, we have a 5-year-old, so with the 5-year-old, he's like old enough where he can take care of himself, and so it wasn't a big deal. It's just the baby, it's hard.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not self-sufficient.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you like to do for fun when you're not working? How do you unwind?
Wow, I love a lot of things, man. I love movies. I'm a big movie guy. Not just for fitness, but I just enjoy running. Like, I love running at the beach, like just along the boardwalk, because I love just being around the ocean and, ocean breeze. I love, live music. So I love going to either like a jazz club or just any place that's like playing, live music. If it's like a rooftop bar with live music at like sunset, that's like my vibe, like 100%. Good music, good ambiance, food, drinks, all that. That's I really enjoy that. I just started picking up golf, so I suck, but it's fun. And I think I like the challenge of like figuring out the little nuances that I need to do to kind of tweak something, and then the ball doesn't lie, right? It'll either go left, right, or straight. It's like you got to do something to figure out how to make that thing go straight. So golf is kind of a newer thing, and I just enjoy just hanging out, going to get a cup of coffee with somebody, and just having a good conversation, having a good meal. I love food. So yeah, man, those are some of my ways to unwind.
I love that, dude. Huge into movies.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie?
My favorite movies are not like, some people have favorite movies and it's like, they're like cool films.
Okay, yeah.
Mine are Zoolander.
Okay, yeah.
Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
I've watched that 10 times. For a while it was Shawshank Redemption. Now I don't know what number 3 is.
Wow.
What about for you?
My number 1's Pulp Fiction. I'm a big.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm a big Tarantino guy.
Incredible, yeah.
And my favorite trilogy of all time is Back to the Future.
Oh, nice.
I love Back to the Future. Yeah. And I'll say my favorite Disney movie is Lion King. The original animated.
Oh, yeah.
The original animated Lion King.
That was a significant movie for me. I remember distinctly watching it with my family. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Old Country Buffet afterward.
Nice.
Pretty epic day.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, 2 last questions. These are going to be scene related.
Okay.
The first one is, how did the suit feel compared to what you expected?
Dude, I did not expect. I say it feels like I'm wearing sweats. Like it's so comfortable. And you know, as this is how I know I'm getting older. Is like I don't wear anything that doesn't stretch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And of course, like as a not even just as a dancer, but like when you go to a wedding, I'm very aware that I'm uncomfortable when I'm in a suit that's just kind of like it doesn't. There's no give.
Yeah.
And like even right now, I feel like I'm just chilling, relaxing,
Yeah.
and I don't even feel like I'm wearing a suit. So like definitely love the stretch. Yeah, the fabric just feels really good. Yeah, I love it. Fits good but yeah, I'm all about that stretch.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
About
me
that
too.
stretch life.
Me too. The other day I wore like one of our linen suits, and I was like, I do prefer the stretchier stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
The fun question of the day is, if you were running Sene, what is one thing you would change or do differently or stop doing? If you're in the driver's seat, what would you do?
Well, for one, I don't know how I'm not there on the day-to-day, so I can't be like, I would change this, Ray. You gotta stop doing that, bro. Like, I don't have any of that. I don't want to give you a boring answer like, I wouldn't change anything. I think it's really important to know like what's going on, like having an ear to the ground of the streets, right? Like what's everybody into right now? Not to say to like do what everyone's into. It's I think for me, like I like to be aware of what's going on so that I can check my own temperature in some sense of like, should I be inspired by that? Or actually do I double down on what I'm actually into? Because at the end of the day, there are so many options for clothing and apparel, right? Like you already know you're in the business. Why would anybody care to be on our team or on the Sene tribe? Is because they like what it represents. So I think having an identity is so important. So yeah, be aware of what's happening, and then maybe take a little bit of what you feel like. Yeah, that seems like it's still a part of our identity, or like, no, we don't need to do that. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. And I'm not saying that you're not doing that. This is just kind of what I think
amazing.
is just keep an ear to the streets, and then keep your head on a swivel, just kind of see what's happening, and then sort of examine, and then take what you feel like still will represent you well, and then be inspired, and what doesn't, it's just like, cool, that's not for us, and we'll just keep going on in our lane.
Dude, I love that. It's my secret way to get free business advice.
See, that's why you should do a podcast, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a hack to get to learn from other people. But yeah.
Well, dude, we definitely appreciate you doing this. This was a lot of fun, and everyone should check out the video that we put together as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If people want to follow you, learn more about you, learn about the coaching or anything else, where should they go to follow you?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. My handle is btech_Ben Chung. Btech is BTEK_Ben Chung. BENCHUNG. I'm gonna have links there where I'm gonna have links to my coaching website and things like that. But I also have a podcast called Good Service, and that's on all streaming. And you can follow us on socials, Good Service Pod, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. But that's where I unpack a lot of stories, like entrepreneurial conversations. We have a lot of people who are in different industries there, but also kind of through the lens of faith. And we eat. So for foodies, we eat some bomb food every episode. So if you're into that, tune in. But Good Service Podcast is also where you'll find me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap.